G'day, I'm Robot Man. In this video I'm going to break it into two parts. The first part's going to be an introduction that I use when I'm telling kids about Coding Express, and then I'm going to show you how I made the boards that they use. We're going to use this awesome robot kit called Coding Express. Did you know trains are robots? They sure are. Robots can take the form of many things. Even a dishwasher's a robot. Today we're going to play with trains, which are also robots, and we're going to code them using these special coloured tiles to make the robot do what we want it to do. You're going to start by building your own track based on the board that you sit at. You're going to put down little grey bits to make your own track. You're going to put those important pieces on the track board using the Velcro. Can you see the black squares, the black bits of Velcro? We're going to add the important pieces using the black Velcro. And then we're going to, after we've added all those pieces, we're going to add the track. And you're going to end up with something that could look a little bit like this. So you're going to add the important pieces, then you're going to add the track, and then you can put the train on there, and you can put coloured tiles in there to make it go and do different things that you want it to do. There's also a big tub full of Lego that I'm going to tip out, and then you can add to your station. You can build stations, you can build houses, you can build picnics and parks. You can build whatever you like to add to your train set. Here's an example of what some children did a couple of weeks ago. They made this brilliant station. It's got animals, even special vehicles. I've got some special vehicles at the front, and you'll be able to grab a couple of those. Each board will allow 2 special vehicles, and if you want to swap them after a while, come back at the front and there'll always be 2 there for you to swap with. I've also got a special case full of extra people. So if you want to swap your Duplo people, if you've got too many children or too many boys or too many girls or whatever, you can come out the front and you can put one in that case and take one out. Don't just take them from the case. You can put them in and take them out. So there's always lots to choose from. Everyone should have 8 people. When we pack up, we've got to make sure that all our track goes in our tub and that all our track has the right coloured circle sticker inside it. This tub's full of green pieces. You can see the green circle inside the piece there. Make sure all your track has the same coloured sticker. On the back of each green board, we're going to place the important pieces. So take everything off the green boards that you've added. You're going to put the big grey piece on the back. You're going to put the 3 end stops. You're going to put the switch and you're going to put the 2 boom gates on the back of your green boards. When you pack up, you're also going to make sure that you've got 8 people on top of your lid. And you're going to make sure that you've got a train and a carriage that needs to roll. And you're going to put all the coloured pieces. You'll have this many action bricks and you'll have 8 people and you'll have your train and carriage. Your train and carriage might look a little bit different to mine. As long as you've got the main train and some sort of carriage, you're good to go. So you've got all this set out nicely and you've got all your track in your tub. So that's your goal. At the end of the lesson, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to pack up to make it look exactly like that again. And you're going to put your special vehicles back out the front. And don't forget, all the pieces that don't belong here go back on the pink blanket. So here's an example of some children working on the track. They build the big track first by putting the important pieces down first, and then it's kind of like building a jigsaw puzzle. Then they can experiment with the train while everyone else is still building their track. And when most kids have built their track, that's when I tip out all the extra pieces on a blanket in the middle of the room. Of course, I remind them about being greedy and silly. Sometimes you need to put a limit on things like animals, because kids love animals. So I say 6 animals per board, and that's enough. Then everyone will have 6 animals and it'll be fair. So in the next part of this video, I'm going to show you how I made these boards, and I'm also going to give you some access to some resources that you might find makes this whole process a bit easier. I printed out a whole bunch of coloured labels and pictures, and then I cut them up with a guillotine. I managed to get the images exactly the same size as the pieces, which is important if the kids are putting bits down on a board. It's good to have them the same size. So in the description of this video, there's a link to my shop, and for $10 US you can purchase all my printouts, and a lot of these are really useful because they're the exact same size as the pieces and they won't cost you any time to set them up. I've also got labels that I use on my tubs. You may or may not find them useful because you might have a different number of action bricks, for example, that sort of thing. But there's lots of options within the file for you to use them for your own needs. But basically I just guillotine everything up after printing them and then cut them out if they need extra cutting out, and then I laminated them, put them all through my laminator. It'd be great if I could laminate things this quickly because it does take a little bit of time to laminate things. Once they're laminated, they'll last forever basically. After they're laminated, you cut them up, and I blue tack them on using adhesive tack onto the lid, even one on the inside, and the kids get a tub that looks a bit like that at the start of each workshop. But the main board I use is a piece of core flute. Some people call it different things, but in Australia we call it core flute, and it's 1900 by 1200 millimeters and 5 millimeters thick. And I just built a track. I just improvised and got creative and built a track and put the important pieces on there. And then once I knew that it all fit properly, I used the images that I'd laminated and put them in place of the important pieces and used some adhesive tape to stick them on in the right spots. So they're just the laminated images that were the right size, and they were under the track. Then I put the track back in place, and then underneath of those important pieces I put some Velcro. You can buy stick-on Velcro, which means that the pieces can be taken off and put on but stay stable once you put them on. So I got some Velcro tape and I stuck it on the Lego piece, and then I stuck another piece of Velcro on top of that and peeled the backing off so that when I put it down, the Velcro tape would go exactly where it was supposed to every time. I put a little bit of blue tack inside the holes because I wanted to put some Velcro in two of the corners. Two is probably enough, and once it's stuck on there, put some more Velcro on the corners of the piece on the board so that the piece can actually just stick nicely on there, and it holds the track in place, otherwise it slides around a bit, and it's not that hard to get off it at the end of the lesson. So I had Velcro to this piece as well, just two pieces of Velcro in the most obvious spots, and then stuck some more Velcro on there, peeled off the backing so it would go in this exact position to line up with the Velcro when you take the piece off and put it back on again. It will always go in the same spots. So that's how I stuck the Velcro on and all the track. But the biggest job probably is not just doing that, it's actually tracing around the track. So I got out my permanent marker and I proceeded to trace around all the track, and it's quite challenging and time consuming, but once it's there forever. So you trace around the outside of the track. I held down each piece, even though they're kind of firm because of the Velcro, they're not perfectly stable, so still hold them down while you're tracing around them. And then I drew inside each track quite easily, just tracing the track basically. But once it's done, you've got to draw a line in between each join just to make it look more obvious where the joins are. So you just use a ruler to manually come up with all the lines, and that's the finished track. Then I do one on the other side because I like to give kids two tracks, and this is the second track I came up with. It's got 3 dead ends. So I always have 1 dead end on one side, which is a more simple track, and then 3 dead ends on the other. And I had to go through the same process. If you want to know more about Coding Express, check this video out up here.